Most men scroll all day and then wonder why they feel weak, why their minds are scattered and unfocused. And the truth is simple. It's because you're starving your mind. If you understood the power that books actually hold, you'd start treating reading like a superpower instead of a chore. Before I rebuilt myself, I couldn't sit and read 5, let alone 10 pages without my mind drifting. Now, I finish a book every other week. You need to understand the truth about books. Let me tell you something most people never think about. When you're reading a book, you're not just reading words. You're literally reading the author's entire life's work. The author spent years studying that topic. They ran researches. They lived through experiences. They listened to other people's stories. And when they felt they were enough of an expert to write a book, they started. First, they wrote the skeleton. Then, they wrote the book. Then they read the book. They erased it, wrote it again, and repeated this process until they gave you their best work. So when you choose not to read, it's not, I'm not a reader. It's you being ignorant enough to ignore years and decades of wisdom that the author has spent mastering. You also need to understand that books carry energy. And this is something that nobody says. Books carry energy, real energy. Every single word, every single page, every single chapter carries the author's emotion, their wisdom, their intention, and their consciousness. When you read, you are literally absorbing the author's energy. Positive, focused, and driven energy. You can literally feel the difference when you finish a strong book. Your mind is sharper, your vision is clearer, and your standards are higher. Now there's the obvious benefits to reading. Your vocabulary improves, your grammar improves, your understanding improves. You gain knowledge about any given topic. But honestly, that's just scratching the surface of what reading actually gives you. So let's dive into the benefits that no one talks about. 1. Reading teaches delayed gratification. Reading is the complete opposite of TikTok and Instagram, where you can just scroll, get a dopamine hit every 3 seconds. There is no instant dopamine. You have to sit there and focus and actually think. That alone rebuilds a brain that social media has destroyed. 2. Reading forces you to stop being distracted. Most men won't admit it, but nowadays they can't even sit there and focus for 30 seconds without getting distracted. And you'll see this. When you first start reading, you'll read a page, you read a chapter, and realize that you retained nothing. But as you go, you start feeling a shift. And then before you know it, you're able to read 40, 50 pages without even realizing it. Because the more you read, the stronger your mind becomes. 3. Reading forces presence. You can't read and think about something else. If you do, it's just wasted time. You actually have to sit there and focus on the words, on what the author is actually saying, so that you can retain the most out of it. No distraction, no noise in your mind. That's presence. That is power. That is focus. Last but not least, your attention span improves. This is the upgrade that you don't see until it hits you. When you're not reading, your mind is a slave to simulation. When you are reading, you become the one in control. Conversations become easier, work becomes easier, studying becomes easier, and life becomes easier. And you feel like your mind is finally under your control. If you don't know where to start, read The Alchemist. It's an easy read, simple, and full of wisdom. It's the second most translated book after the Bible. That speaks for itself. If you want any recommendations, DM me on Instagram or leave a comment to the video. I'll be more than happy to give you some. What I want to leave you with is this: reading isn't a hobby. It's not something that smart people do. It's one of the highest forms of self-respect. You are literally absorbing decades of wisdom in just a few hours. You are receiving energy, clarity, and discipline and depth when you start reading. Start reading, unlock the superpower.